My name is Hannah. I've got three children. I've got a 7-year-old little boy, a 4-year-old little girl, and then a 17-month-old girl as well. 8 weeks into the first lockdown, I had my daughter. We were lucky in a way that they hadn't started like introducing masks or anything like that yet, so I didn't have to mask. I just had to, I stayed at home as long as I could, went into the hospital, so I had to go in on my own. Luckily I was only in there about 10 minutes on my own, and they were like, okay, yeah, you're having a baby, get your husband. I was like, thank you. And my husband came running up a bit like a pack horse because he had to bring everything in with him because he wasn't allowed to leave once he'd come in. I've been very lucky with all my births, actually. Yeah, I had a water birth with all of them on the midwifery led unit. Really chill, really, no doctors involved, no intervention, just me and a pool. That's all I didn't have any other pain relief really. A bit of gas and air, a couple of paracetamol. That was my pain relief. So with all of them, so me and my brother were both exclusively breastfed. For me, it wasn't what I don't know what I'm going to do. It was, well, I'll breastfeed. With my first, I didn't have too many issues at all. Really, he took to it quite well, and I didn't have any problems with him. I am lucky in that I've got one of my best friends who's actually a breastfeeding peer support volunteer. So I would just message her. So I'd got like my own private little support system there with her. So I just messaged her if I did have any issues. But he was a dream really with feeding. So I fed my son till 4 years, 10 months. Yeah. So he was two. He literally started reception the same sort of time as he weaned. He was literally only feeding just like 5 minutes before bed. So it was quite an easy transition to stop him, but he'd gradually reduced and reduced and reduced. And then my daughter, she actually stopped 2 months later at 2.5, because I got pregnant with number three. My two girls both were tongue tied. So the first few days with them was very tough. I was very lucky with my middle one, with it being COVID, that when I went in for her day 10 check, it was at the hospital, and I'd spoken to the infant feeding team, who have a member of staff that could do the tongue tie check, and then do the procedure to clip that. She was going to be at the hospital at the same day I was going in for the day 10 check, so she said, come up and see me. And she did it, and she did the procedure, because it was very painful for those first 10 days, but manageable. Yeah, so she did that, and immediately feeding was like a dream. Yeah, so my little one now, she's probably actually been the hardest. I've had the most challenges with her, with regards to breastfeeding. And I noticed as well a lot with like my midwife, because she was like, when you like talk about antenatally, oh, how are you going to feed? And she's like, oh yeah, you breastfed before, you're all good. And felt antenatally there wasn't as much support, because I'd breastfed previously. So it was like, oh, you're fine, you know what you're doing. So she was tongue tied as well. And it was excruciating. I had a phone call with a peer support worker on, I think it was day 2 or 3, and I literally cried down the phone to her, going, I don't know how I'm going to do the next feed, when she told me that I couldn't see the tongue tie clinic for another 10 days. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do another feed, never mind another 10 days worth of feed. And so she actually suggested nipple shields, which is normally quite a last resort for them, because it can interfere. But literally without the nipple shields, there is no way I'd have kept feeding to day 13, when I then got her sorted. And again, immediately as soon as it was clipped, it was instantly different. And I was able to immediately feed without the nipple shields, never put them back on again, and just fed her without the shields immediately. I then had an mastitis literally 2 weeks later. So I thought it was all good. Yeah, thought it was all sorted, and then got mastitis 2 weeks later. It was really fluey, like those symptoms, really felt poorly with it. And when I went to go and get seen, I went up to our urgent treatment centre, and they said it was very close to becoming an abscess. But they were like, I think you were just going to catch it if we can get the antibiotics started like now, you'll be fine. And thankfully within 24 hours it had reduced considerably. the amount of different sides to breastfeeding and whether you've got support from your family or not, and it can be so difficult. I mean, I volunteer at one of the groups on a Wednesday morning within Wolverhampton, because we are quite lucky in Wolverhampton. Every day of the week there is some form of group that's a breastfeeding support group. Mondays is now virtual, because where there was a group, the numbers weren't great, so they've gone virtual on a Monday in an evening, and then every day of the week there's either one in the morning or one in the afternoon. So there is lots of support by the infant feeding team and like the council employed support workers as well. So I go and volunteer at one of them, and it's lovely. We've got a group of women that come every week. It's become a bit like a baby group for them, and they come, and it's somewhere safe to come and sit, talk, the support if you need it. But it's not just a group for, oh, I've got an issue with feeding. It's a breastfeeding group, and everyone comes and everyone can just feed openly and talk about whatever they want to, sort of thing. And it's quite nice that because some of them have said like, oh yeah, my family, like my mom never breastfed me, don't really understand why I want to breastfeed for like as long as I am, and that sort of thing. So it's quite nice that they've got somewhere to come and have that peer support sort of thing. I've always been quite relaxed about feeding, always just fed in public. Initially, when I first had my first, I got like a cover, but within a couple of days, it was just like, okay, that's annoying me. I'm like, I'm feeding my baby, get over it, sort of thing. And I'm very lucky, and I don't think I've ever had a negative comment while out in public. I tend to just go literally wherever I'm. But Costa is they're quite breastfeeding friendly. They do have signs in there, especially the one in town, one of the ones in town, breastfeeding welcome here, sort of. And I do see those signs around, but not everywhere, sort of thing. But I know that I'm well within my rights to feed, and they can't ask me to leave, sort of thing. And I will, I've never been asked, thankfully, but I know that I'm legally allowed to do it wherever I'm legally allowed to be, sort of thing. So